Okay, what if we've been reading one of the world's most influential texts completely wrong this whole time? The central kind of disruptive idea we're exploring today is that the Quran isn't really a book of information, rules or stories, but it's actually a system. A system designed to help us recover a profound lost memory, the memory of home.
This entire system is really anchored in a single powerful verse. It says, indeed, we chose them for an exclusive quality, the remembrance of the home. Now this completely reframes everything. That exclusive quality it's talking about, it isn't about being morally perfect. It's about a very specific state of consciousness, holding on to a preserved signal, an uncorrupted memory of where we came from.
So let's break that down a bit. The way we usually look at the Quran is as information to be learned, but this other perspective sees it as a memory to be recovered. It's kind of like the difference between reading a travel guide about a city versus slowly remembering that you were actually born there. The first is just knowledge. The second, that's a journey home.
But, okay, if this is a memory, why don't we all just remember it? Well, the text argues this isn't like you just misplaced your keys. No, this was a catastrophic, system-level event, a great forgetting. And the Quran is incredibly precise about the moments this collapse happened. In one chapter, it says it plainly, Adam forgot. Simple as that. Then elsewhere, you hear this cry, would that I had died before this and was forgotten. Now, you might think that's just despair, but it's much deeper. It's a system-level realization that the signal from home, that core memory of our origin, has been totally erased. The source material even lays out this framework for the collapse. It starts with step 1, the split, a separation from our stable origin. That leads to step 2, a distortion, where forgetting that origin leaves the whole system exposed. And finally, that causes step 3, the drift, where humanity is basically set adrift in time without that crucial reference point of home. We'll come back to why those numbers, 2, 3, and 7, are so important.
And this gives us a completely different way to look at the forbidden fruit. It wasn't about an apple. The real catastrophe was consuming something that caused the loss of our internal guidance system, that direct line back to our origin.
So we've got a huge memory collapse, and it happened inside a closed system. It stands to reason then that the fix, the solution, has to come from inside that system too. It has to be precise, it has to be exclusive.
The text makes it very clear that this recovery can only happen through the Quran itself. It basically asks, once you have God's own narrative, what other story could you possibly trust? And it warns that if you just follow the crowd, the majority, you'll end up lost in a field of static. And crucially, it says that real understanding isn't something you just get by trying hard. It requires divine permission. It requires an activation.
So the argument is crystal clear. The Quran positions itself as the one and only undiluted source for getting back this mother memory. Anything else you add to the mix, any other system, just dilutes the signal and corrupts the very data we're trying to piece back together.
All right, so we've got the problem, memory loss, and we have the tool for recovery, the Quran. But how do you actually start the process? What's the call to action? Where's the on switch?
And this is where the perspective has to shift fundamentally. You, the person engaging with this text, you're not just a passive reader on the sidelines. You are an active participant. You are inside the process of your own awakening.
The ignition command is stark, it's powerful, and it's incredibly simple. Right here in Surah Maryam, take the book with strength. That's not a suggestion, it's a direct command. It's the activation switch.
So what does with strength really mean? It's not about passive reading or, just academic study. It's about active execution. It's about system activation. You're not just analyzing the software, you're actually running the program.
And the outcome of flipping that switch? It's pretty profound. It engages what the source calls an autopilot of light. Once your internal system gets aligned by the book, it just starts to follow the path of least resistance. Guidance isn't something you have to struggle to find anymore. It just emerges naturally, effortlessly, pulling you back home.
So, what makes this system so strong? Why doesn't the memory just collapse all over again once you recover it? Well, the source material uses this incredible metaphor. The Quran is structured like a suit of chainmail.
Let's just look at the raw data behind this structure for a second. The system is built on about 6,236 nodes, or verses. Think of each one as a single point of memory.
But here's where it gets mind-blowing. The data shows there are over 343,000 connections linking all those verses together. The sheer density of this network is just staggering.
And this brings us to the most important part. On average, every single verse is interlinked with about 110 others. I mean, think about that. Nothing stands alone. Every single point is reinforced over 100 times.
So what all that data really shows us is this. The Qur'an isn't just a collection of separate texts. It's a 96% unified system, a single, coherent, deeply interlocked machine. A machine built specifically to preserve memory. And that's the whole point of the chainmail. Just like an armor, where every little ring supports all the others to spread out the force of a hit, the verses interlock to protect the core memory. You can't just break one piece without having to deal with the strength of the entire system. This all brings us to the final stage of this journey. Once that memory is activated and it's protected by this incredible structure, the return home becomes, well, in a way, inevitable. So let's put it all together with that 2-3-7 framework we mentioned earlier. The journey starts at phase 2, the loss, with Adam's forgetting and the memory collapse. Then it moves to phase 3, activation, where you overcome that loss with the command, take the book, making the word active again. And it all culminates in phase 7, the return, where the system auto-aligns and home is finally reached. And that really is the core idea of this whole explainer. The Qur'an isn't something external to you that you just read. It is the internal dormant memory of where you actually came from, just waiting to be awakened. So if the command is to take the book with strength, and that command is the switch that begins the entire journey home, the only real question left is the one you have to ask yourself. When will you hold the book?